Is anybody here? You're here. Why? Why did you decide to come back after last week's train wreck of an episode? We have a lot to jump into and unpack after that, including the next 100 episodes, because we're going to do it again. All right. I'm not stopping as far as I know. All right. It's our weird world.
Our weird world.
Welcome to Our Weird World. I'm your host, John Henson. And let me see if I can get back into this. All right. Because look, little peeksies behind the curtain. Ever since I recorded last week's Drunk Spectacular, a lot has happened in the real timeline of events. A lot. All right. I recorded way ahead. All right. Because there's a lot that was going to be happening in life, and I didn't want to feel like I had to do these and be lazy and just churn them out. So, look, to be honest, I recorded last week's episode sometime around the late summer. I think maybe like August or September or something like that. And yeah, I've been sitting on it for a while. Didn't re-record it. I said, that's it. I'm going to put it out there and let's see what happens. All right. So, as of now, when I am recording this, we have just gotten into the new year, and boy, howdy, does it still suck. Oh man. Wow. Can I tell you, things aren't much better in the future. But look, recap for me personally. All right. Actually ended up getting married. All right. Like, obviously I had the October episode where I announced that I got married, made references to said wife in future episodes along the way. But everything went well for the most part, I think. It was a blur, not going to lie. But got married, did the honeymoon, had numerous COVID scares along the way. Christmas happened, and then everything just kind of fell apart. I got COVID the final week of 2021, and can I tell you, not a great time. All right. I understand how that has killed as many people as it has. All right. I get it. It's not fun. It's not a fun sickness to have. And look, I don't get sick. All right. Like, I'll get like a little 24-hour bug every now and then, but like to the point where I am mostly incapacitated for a week, that's not fun. That never happens to me. All right. The last time that like I genuinely got that sick was probably in high school. It just doesn't happen to me. I get fun things like kidney stones or vertigo. That's what I get. All right. I don't get colds and the flu. No, but I get COVID. It's not fun. It's really not fun. So, get your vaccine. All right. No one ever said that it's going to prevent you from getting it. No one's ever said that. All right. Cite your sources. No one's ever said that. But what it does do is it prevents you from dying. And, look, some days that's, I'd be all right with that. All right. Hey, that's a joke. But get your vaccine. All right. Because look, if I had not had a vaccine and then I had what I had and it would have been much worse, that's not fun at all. All right. And then just as I was getting over COVID, all right, on the first day of the new year, tree falls and hits the side of my house. All right. Another tree begins leaning dangerously, will probably fall on the house, but I got it taken care of. Insurance company, that shan't be named, but does liken itself to a good neighbor, playing hard to get along with helping me out, so, and look, if I'm being honest, still holding neighborly standards. Never really had a neighbor who was super gung-ho about helping with things. So I guess they're on brand. But that is where we are at this point. My bank account is very thin at the moment because of the unexpected expenses of all of the trees and things that needed to be taken care of. So internally I'm panicking, but we just keep plugging along. And if another emergency happens, I will not financially recover. All right. But can't focus on that, says my therapist. Who's my therapist? No one. I don't go to therapy. I should. But anyway, what are we talking about this week? There's a show to do, and it's not about me. We're talking about a couple of serial killers. No relation between these two, just a couple weirdos that thought would be great to jump into an episode together. And that is Johann Unterweger and Robert Pickton. All right. Enough about me and my misfortunes in life to make you feel better. Let's jump into story time. Story time. Johann Unterweger. I don't know why I said it like that. Johann Unterweger. Why? Unterweger. It's not Unterweger. That's the American way of saying it. Unterweger. It's probably Unterweger, but I'm not saying it like that. Anyway, Johann Unterweger was born on August 16th, 1950, in a small town in the middle of Austria. Not really important. When he was 3 years old, he was sent to live with his grandparents because his mother was a prostitute who kept getting arrested and sent to prison. So obviously you need someone to take care of the kid. Unterweger spent time back and forth between his grandparents and prison for crimes that generally involved him assaulting prostitutes, which I'm sure was in no way connected to the relationship that he had with his mother. No way he had any sort of anger and resentment towards the choices that his mother made in life. Not at all. Anyway, in 1974, Unterweger murdered an 18-year-old German girl by strangling her to death with her bra. He was sentenced to life in prison, where he quickly found a new passion. All right. This should be the end of the story already. Oh, he's sentenced to life in prison for murdering a person. Yay. Good job, justice system. You did your job. All right. But he quickly found a new passion for writing. All right. He wrote short stories and poems and plays. He wrote an autobiography. In the intellectual community in Vienna, where he was in prison, which consisted of political radicals, artists, politicians, and other generally just annoying and insufferable liberal types who just spend more time talking than actually doing things. They loved his work, and they started a petition to get him released from prison, proving that just because you're labeled as an intellectual doesn't mean you're actually a smart person. All right. How stupid and short-sighted must you be? All right. This guy, he's been convicted. He's admitted to it. Everybody knows he did it. He killed someone, strangled her to death with her bra. It's a weird way to do it, but that's how he did it. And then he starts writing. All right. And people are so stoked on his writing, on his little plays and short stories, that you get these little intellectuals over here, these artsy intellectuals, and they think, well, I know he is in prison. Yes, this is the same accent as the German accent. It's fine. Very, very similar cultures. And we love his work so very much that we think we should let him out of prison so he can do more writing, because he is just one of us. And look, he is probably rehabilitated from his murder. He probably realizes that he did wrong. He will certainly not murder again because he is well adjusted. Right? Well, guess what, you guys? In 1990, Unterweger was actually released from prison after serving the minimum of 15 years of his life sentence, which I don't know how that works. My understanding of a life sentence, and I do tend to take things literally, is that you're there for life, not not like, hey, we're sentencing you to life in prison, parentheses, 15 years. Like that works for someone who's like 90, who's not going to make it out, but not someone who's like 24. Like, he's still prime of his life, but whatever. Here's what's crazy. The same intellectual community in Vienna who petitioned to get him released from prison actually got Unterweger's autobiography taught in schools, and they got his short stories performed on the radio. All right. Unterweger then also ended up getting a job as a reporter for the Austrian equivalent of ABC, where, get this, he covered murder stories and was even given a television show where he discussed criminal rehabilitation. Like, this is the equivalent of us just giving O.J. Simpson a show, right? Like, it's that level of insane where we're just like, O.J., man, we know you did it. We know you did. And here's what we're going to do. All right, we're going to give you a show talking about murders. All right, we're going to put it on ESPN 4. All right, it's going to be kind of like the E network for ESPN. We're going to put a bunch of like former athletes with their own shows. We're going to give you a murder show. All right, and we're just going to let you talk about people who commit murders. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool. Hey, everybody, my name is O.J. Simpson, and on today's episode of How Do You Do That? Oh, yeah. That is actually probably a real entertaining idea. Just O.J. Simpson talking about how people murdered other people. You know, he's like, well, now, Johnny goes into the house and he's got a knife. And look, here's what I'm saying. That's not how I would have done it. All right. Because as you can see, he ain't got no gloves on. He's going to put his fingerprints all over the knife handle. And as you know, if the glove don't fit, you must have quit. All right. Anyway, here's something, back to the actual story. Here's something that should not surprise you. Nobody realized during all of this that Unterweger had gone back to strangling prostitutes with their bras. All right. Within a year of his release from prison, all right, he's got his, TV show. He's this minor celebrity in Vienna. Within a year of his release, Unterweger had murdered 7 more prostitutes between Austria and Czechoslovakia, most of which he actually reported on himself as part of his job. It's like, today in the murder news, another prostitute was found dead. Oh no. Who could have done it? I have no idea. Oh, God, people. In 1991, an Austrian magazine had hired Unterweger to write about crime in Los Angeles and just kind of the differences between American and European views on prostitution. Unterweger, who probably could not believe his good fortune at this point, absolutely jumped on this opportunity and went to Los Angeles, and immediately within hours of landing, didn't even bother checking into his hotel, didn't even get settled, just goes right out and strangles 3 prostitutes with their bras in Los Angeles. He then returned to Austria, where he had been named as the prime suspect in the prostitute murders in Austria and Czechoslovakia. So they're getting on to him right now. But by the time police finally collected enough evidence against him, Unterweger fled the country and then led authorities on a chase through Europe and Canada before he was finally arrested in Miami on February 27th, 1992. Despite calls to a bunch of friends in the Austrian media to try to explain his side of the story, like, what are you trying to explain? So, I could not help it. They were prostitutes and they asked me to take the bras off. And when I have the bra in my hand, I can't just not strangle someone. How do you not do that? Anyway, he was eventually charged with 11 murders and was convicted of 9 and extradited back to Austria. 2 years later, on June 29th, 1994, he was given another life sentence for another murder, so he's convicted of 10 at this point. And later that night, after he received that life sentence, he hanged himself with his shoelaces and the cord from his pants, presumably because he didn't have a bra to use. So that is the story of Johann Unterweger. And now we go to our second story here of Robert William Pickton, who, along with his brother David, owned the Piggy Palace Good Times Society. It's the real name. Which was a nonprofit charity on Robert's sprawling pig farm north of Vancouver in British Columbia, Canada. Now, on paper, this organization's goal was to host special events on behalf of other organizations, basically an event center. And basically it was for any corporation who wanted to have an event on a sprawling pig farm. And, just like if you wanted to just have like a different, not fun at all kind of party for your, like we do at my real job, we do little outings. All right. We'll go to a bowling alley. Maybe we'll play mini golf. All right. Maybe we'll do, a cooking class or whatever. Definitely not on the list is going to a pig farm to a rave hall, which is basically what this was. Because like the Piggy Palace was not like any sort of petting zoo or a Chuck E. Cheese knockoff. It was a warehouse, and there was a stage, and you could play music and all that, but that's about it. There wasn't a lot of like actual activity going on. Pickton's farm was patrolled by a 600-pound boar that frequently chased and tried to bite people that got too close. And the most popular events at the Piggy Palace included raves that were held inside of a converted slaughterhouse, which, okay, sure. As many as 2,000 people at a time attended these raves, including members of the Hells Angels. So great place, real upstanding place, right? On March 23rd, 1997, Pickton and local prostitute Wendy Lynn Eistetter were having a little romp in the Piggy Palace when Pickton handcuffed her to the bed and then just started stabbing her in the abdomen. Not entirely sure why, but that's what was reported. Wendy, to her credit, managed to stab Pickton in retaliation and was able to escape and alert police. Pickton was actually charged with attempted murder, but the charge was dismissed a year later because the Piggy Palace was a huge multi-million-dollar operation. And if you know anything about Canadian law, you know that millionaires are nicer than the average nice Canadian. So like Canadian authorities they didn't believe that this guy could have possibly done anything wrong, especially some dirty, lying whore. That those not really my words. That's just kind of how they were viewed and seen in Canadian culture. However, the Piggy Palace did end up losing its nonprofit status a few weeks later and was fined by the local government in Vancouver for neglecting the land and illegally altering the buildings without proper permits and stuff like that. So for the next 3 years, Pickton cruised the streets of Vancouver and convinced prostitutes to go with him back to his piggy farm for money and drugs, because that's how you get prostitutes, I guess. From there, prostitutes were brutally murdered because, look, if you guys had not figured this out yet, Pickton was a complete psychopath, all right? Sometimes the dead prostitutes were fed to his pigs. Sometimes they were tossed in a wood chipper. For some reason, Pickton kept the head, hands, and feet of some of those prostitutes in various refrigerators around the farm. Here's a fun one. He even mixed some of the bodies with leftover pig parts and sold them to a nearby rendering plant to manufacture makeup and soap that was then sold throughout Canada. Yay! There you go, ladies. Next time you're putting on your foundation or your lipstick or whatever makeup products are made with animal fat, or your soaps, your natural soaps, your all natural soaps. Think about that. Think about some crazy psychopath who's murdering people and mixing in human parts, and you're just scrub-a-dub-a-dubbing with, you know, diamond crystals, Dakotas, meaty thigh fat, whatever. I don't know. Anyway, meanwhile, while all of this was going on, by the way, the Vancouver police were very aware that the Vancouver prostitute population was slowly dwindling, but they didn't really care because prostitutes just disappeared all the time. They either, police just assumed they'd either just died of drug overdoses or gone to another city or another part of the city. Like, it just happened a lot. Plus, I mean, look, one of the city's biggest problems was solving itself. So why would they do anything to potentially mess that up? Right? When one investigator actually had the nerve to hint that maybe a serial killer was responsible for all of these disappearances, and he was immediately fired for that. So, just let it go. Finally, Piggy Palace employee Bill Hiscox alerted authorities of everything that he had seen, and he had seen a lot. He had seen everything that I just told you about. So on February 6, 2002, police showed up to the Piggy Palace with a search warrant for illegal firearms. They then obtained a second warrant to search for all of the missing prostitutes on the property. And the search actually turned up what you would expect. Over the next year and a half, excavations of the Piggy Palace revealed the remains of 27 women. And Pickton was charged with all 27 murders. While he was in prison, Pickton confessed to actually killing 49 prostitutes, but he said that he had wished he had killed one more to make it an even 50 because, I mean, come on, of course a psychopath would also be a little bit compulsive over an even number like that. Pickton's trial officially began in 2006. He was convicted on 6 counts of second-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison without parole for 25 years, which, I mean, seems like a very Canadian punishment for a guy who killed 49 people, but, that's where he's at now. And that's the end of today's stories. All right. So there we go. Episode 101. All right. Doing another 100. Gonna try to do. It's gonna take 2 years, roughly, a little more than that, to get to episode 200. No, a little less than 2 years because there's 52. Jesus Christ. Anyway, so yeah, getting off to a good start here. I don't know, man. Let's jump in and see what we learned real quick.
What did we learn?
Number 1, 2022 still sucks for most people. Number 2, Johann Unterweger, he just liked strangling prostitutes with their bras. And I guarantee you, if he had thought to wear a bra under his prison jumpsuit, he would have hung himself with that as well. And number 3, Robert Pickton, he owned a place called the Piggy Palace, where he then murdered prostitutes and fed them to his pigs, and also just mixed in the bodies with pigs that he had slaughtered to sell for makeup and such. So, good job, Canada. All right. So before we jump into next week's teaser, I just want to take a second to be sincere and thank all of you who listen. I know just been getting good feedback. I know that you guys are telling other people about the show, and it's awesome, and that's wonderful. And so if you are new here, or you just forgot, or you never listened to the first episode, which I wouldn't blame you, just a reminder of why I feel the need to do this. First, I'm just a creative person. This is my outlet. This is just what I do in life. You do your things. This is what I do. I'm not better than you or anything. But also, I want everybody to know that the world isn't as bad of a place as the media makes it out to be. And I'm going to sound really conspiratorial here, but I truly believe that this is 100% what's going on. All right. And there's a lot of evidence that points to this going on. First of all, I share all of these stories, one, because they are interesting and I do enjoy them, but also because I think we often forget that the world has always been a really terrible place. All right. And this, there's an opposite side of this that, an opposite sort of philosophy that says, oh, the world's a wonderful place and you should look for the good in everything. And like, no. All right. World's a terrible place. All right. Existence in and of itself is a terrible thing. A lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of sadness. You have to work very hard to find the good in things. All right. Honestly, it should be the other way around, but that's just, it would be better if it was the other way around, but it's not. All right. So I look through all of history. I find all of these stories because if I didn't, it would be very easy to turn on the news, whether it's Fox, MSNBC, CNN, those big mainstream media news outlets, or even just small, even your local news. All right. Even the 5 o'clock news on TV is depressing. All right. It's top story. This political person did this, or the government didn't do that. And so now millions of people stand to be in a lot of trouble. Or, oh, this natural disaster happened. Or, this world leader is about to blow up a whole other country. Oh, terrorists did this. Oh, look at this little puppy that got murdered. Look at this special needs kid who died for some reason. I don't know. But that's it. That's the first 20 minutes of every news broadcast. And then it's 5 minutes of weather talking about how hot it's going to be, or how it's going to be too cold, or how rain is going to ruin your weekend plans. And then you get maybe one story in the last 30 seconds of the broadcast where it's like some autistic kid gets thrown into the final 10 seconds of a high school basketball game, chucks up some impossible three-pointer and makes it. Everybody goes crazy. And there's your little bit of good news. All right. It's a disaster. News it just sucks. All right. But here's why it sucks. There's no shortage of good news out there. You could create an entire network around nothing but good news or some sort of positive spin on things. You can do it. It's possible. But guess what? That channel's not going to last very long because no one, or at least not enough people, are going to sit and watch that consistently enough. You're not going to sell ad space on that network. All right. But you know what does sell? Fear. Fear sells. If it bleeds, it leads. There's a reason that is a statement. All right. People want answers, and especially when there's all of this uncertainty and all of this tension and negativity around, people hang on to that and they keep watching. So guess what news companies are going to do? They're going to keep giving it to you. They're going to keep, and that's what then justifies, hey, look, this personality who has these views gets, 1 million people to watch his show every Wednesday night. So this is what we're going to charge for those commercial spots. And that's how you keep driving up. And so then that personality, he's not thinking about the harm that he's doing. He's just thinking about, all right, what can I say? What kind of spin can I put on this event to make more people watch so that we can sell more ad revenue, so that on my next contract negotiation, I can get paid more money. That's it. That's the whole thing. Like Fox and CNN and all of that, they are to news what the WWE is to sports. All right. It's not news. It's news entertainment. All right. They don't care about reporting facts. They don't care about what psychological damage that's happening to people. They just care about the ad revenue that they're getting and how many eyeballs continue to watch them. And this goes for any online platform. just to write the most salacious, eye-catching headlines, clickbaity headlines, so that you click, so that, it justifies, the page hits that they can keep charging for, digital ads and stuff like that. It sucks. It's a terrible, terrible business model. All right. But it makes bukus of money, a ton of money for everybody. All right. And the overarching theme is that the world is a scary, awful place, and it's never been this bad. And if you didn't pay attention to history in history class, yeah, you're going to believe it. And honestly, history classes, especially with our education system, public and private, they're not telling you about a lot of the awful things that have happened in history. All right. Whether it's world history, you just get, all of the European wars. You get, this emperor did this, and then Alexander the Great, and then the Greeks did this stuff, and then the Romans did this stuff. And then you have the rise of the Anglo-Saxons, and then you have, they start exploring the world, and all of a sudden, hey, look, 1492 is here. Let's focus on American history. And then American history is this crazy revisionist history where it's just like, we kindly asked the Indians to kind of move out of the way. We gave them reservations. All right. We just kind of, was it the best? Probably not. But we just kind of, no. All right. America has not been the good guy that we were born to believe. All right. Look at the Spanish American War and how we treated people in the Philippines. All right. Look at I think it was like Nicaragua or Guatemala, one of those Latin American countries that we invaded. We just straight up invaded a whole Caribbean island, and the UN was just like, hey guys, can you tone it down? And we were like, no, we're America. We can do whatever we want. And just this, so many things wrong with how America has done things in the world and in world history. And it keeps going on and on and on, but a lot of people just aren't aware of it. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm just like, hey guys, the world's always been a bad place. We're going to showcase some stories to let you know that it's been a lot worse. All right. Think about this. All right. Are there racial tensions? Yeah. Yeah. There's still a lot of racial tension, you guys. But at least black people aren't getting whipped and hanged in the street anymore just because, all right? Baby steps, all right? Still a lot of work to do, but we're making progress. I think we can all agree to that. So that's why I do this show. This is my small part, me doing my small part, because I'm not going to change the world. I'm not going to create this revolution of people who finally think like a reasonable person would. And that's fine, right? This is just me doing my thing. And if you're along for the ride, and if you're listening and you're cool with it, great. Awesome. Glad you're here. But that's it. This is as much as I can do, right? And I'm not going to be super motivational guy who's like, if we all do one little thing, we can change the world. Probably not. All right. There's 8 billion people on this planet. Most of them don't care about you and what you're doing. All right. So there's that. But all I can ask is for you to just be a decent person. All right. And do your best to avoid falling into these traps of doom and gloom and just this full on negative outlook on life, that things are just so awful. Because if you look, you don't even have to look that hard, but you can find a lot of good things going on. And it's fine to insulate yourself and live in a world where there's just a lot of good things going on. All right. Be aware of your surroundings. Obviously, don't tune everything out, but just take the negativity that you receive with a grain of salt, because you're not getting that negativity because someone cares about you. They have ulterior motives. They want you to pay attention to them. All right. That's it. All right. So there's my soapbox. Thank you for listening. That was the whole point of the first 100 episodes. It's going to be the point for the next 100 episodes and however long I keep doing this dumb show. All right. So wrapping it up here. Next week on the show, going to be a fun episode. All right. We are going to cover some incredible feats of human stupidity. All right. Because if there's one thing I enjoy doing, it's laughing at stupid people. We're going to look at the stories of Franz Reichelt, Maurice Wilson, Gary Hoy, and Bob Knodel. If you haven't heard any of these names, get ready because these are some fantastic stories and we are all going to have a laugh at other people's expense. All right. Thank you all for listening. Sincerely, I really do appreciate it. Thank you. Tell all your friends. Keep telling all your friends. If some friend told you about this show, you go tell a friend now. All right. That's the deal. Do it. All right. And always keep it weird.